All right. So what we've got today, this week, we're gonna do a couple more things on experiments.
The calendar's gone.
I know.
Did we already talk about this?
I know. My sixth period, they decided that was a sloppy handwriting, and that it was the end of the 6 weeks, and they didn't erase it all. And my bell, they erased my bell schedules and everything.
It was like Sailor.
We go, right? Are you left-handed?
Alright, so, we're gonna be 4.2 day 3. So on Schoology, there's 4.2 homework. So I think on Schoology it says it's due today. I can give you tomorrow. Just get it in. As soon as there. And then on Friday we're gonna talk about just kind of generalizing our samples or experiments to things, like who can we generalize this to. We'll talk about that on Friday, and then a week from today we're going to do a test, and then we're going to start probability, and that will take us to Christmas break probability. So we'll do some like your basic probabilities, and then eventually we'll get into binomial and geometric. I'm not sure if IB math touches on those. I'm not sure, but we'll get into those types of probabilities.
We'll see how it goes from there.
All right, so before we get started on today, how about we go back to the surveying? Like, someone tell me, how would you take a simple random sample? Like this.
You label your data,
Okay, label the data.
and then you either use a calculator or the simple, or like the random number generator sheet.
Yeah.
And then you like find like your range from like 1 to how many people or like how many things you're talking about, and then you find the numbers and you take the survey of the people that you chose.
Perfect. Yeah. So however many you need in your sample you take. So yeah, just use the biggest thing is just giving everybody in your sample a big or person or object or whatever the same chance. And so yeah, numbering them or labeling them gives them equal chance, and then you use some sort of random number generator to get that. That's good. Okay, what about stratified sampling? Remember that one?
You label
Which
the
one you
data.
did them in like groups?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, what kind of groups?
Head or I don't
Did
know.
junior senior?
Huh?
You did it by junior senior?
By junior, seniors, I mean,
Maybe. Really?
yeah, well, I'm not saying for this. Like,
Oh.
if we were just doing a stratified in
You don't
general.
call them or whatever.
Yeah, like, so stratified, if I was doing stratified for like the school, I would, yeah, split
You
them
could say like one in each
freshmen,
classroom, or like you can, or is that's the difference?
split them by classroom.
Like say, okay, you take one person in this classroom, one person from that classroom, one person from that classroom.
Okay, yeah, you can do that. So the biggest thing is like, you need to decide how you're gonna split. And so strata is splitting into groups, but it's splitting into groups that you think have a difference. And so if you think that like, you could probably do classroom if you think like, okay, I wanna get one person or 2 people from each class because I'm gonna get some IB kids, I'm gonna get an AP class, I'm gonna get like a lower level class, I'm gonna get a regular class, I'm gonna get athletic class, I'm gonna get the band class, I'm gonna get every single type of kid if I do it by that. Or if you think like age might have a difference in it, you can split people by age. If you think gender might have a difference, you split people by gender. And then the key with stratified though is that you choose a representative sample from each. So like if I split people male and female, I would choose like 20 females, 20 males, like representative of each. What about cluster? What makes cluster different?
You separate them based on like their similarities instead of their differences. No? I don't know.
So what do you mean by that? Like, I think you're like thinking right. I just.
Cause I forgot, you gave it a word, I forgot if it was like,
It was like a biology kind of term.
kind of, yeah, and then, I don't remember what it was, but it's like,
Sample?
no,
So
Home?
clusters are, we're gonna split people again.
Yeah.
But the word is heterogeneous groups versus homogeneous or homogeneous. I'm learning instead of homogeneous. But stratified would be homogeneous or whatever homogeneous groupings. So like similar males and females. Cluster is like.
Oh.
They're supposed to be equally representative of your population if they're clusters. That would be, they don't have to be, like a cluster sample could be, I split people by classrooms. But then on cluster samples, I take a random sample to choose, let's say 3 classrooms in the school right now, and I sample everybody in those 3 classrooms. So like, I randomly chose Mr. Hamilton's room, Mr. McCarley's room, and Coach Rice's room. And so like, I sample everybody in those rooms and I ask them like, whatever, some sort of, whatever survey. And so cluster, like you get your best cluster results when they're heterogeneous groupings, but like, you don't necessarily have to. So when we were watching that AP video, daily video, he grouped people into clusters, like where they live. And sometimes that can result in really bad things. Like he picked a couple places that were like really rich areas, or a couple places that were low income, and so you don't really get representative samples. But yeah, so cluster's different because in those groupings, I randomly choose some of those groupings and sample everybody in those groupings. Stratified is I split on some characteristic and then sample from each of those groups, a couple from each or whatever. All right, what about like bias? Like what about, or I guess what would like our math definition of bias be?
Just anything that will affect the outcomes, like.
Okay, and it
Like-
specifically, it like always, it consistently over represents or under represents the true number. Like we're missing the point there, we're missing the actual number. What is an example of under coverage bias?
Like an example?
Yeah.
Like, let's say you did do Coach Rice's room, Mr. McCauley's room, and this room, like, you'd only be getting, like, advanced academic students versus, like, if you were to get, like, those classrooms over there, like, there's, like, some legal class over there, you don't get
Sure.
them.
Yeah, or like, yeah, let's say, yeah, I'm trying to get a sample and like, I only decided to sample the people on the 3200 hallway. And then, yeah, I got those 2 guys. Like, I'm missing out on other people. That's what under coverage is. What about like voluntary response bias?
just what you eat like,
Kind of spells it out.
people volunteer and then they get.
You're only gonna volunteer if you're like, think you're gonna make a difference, or like,
Yeah, like-
you're interested in that cause.
Yeah, voluntary response, the biggest thing is like, people are passionate about their response. They go take your poll online.
Is an
and-
election a voluntary response bias? Because not everybody votes. Voluntary, but it's so large of a job.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people though.
I don't know, that was like a very broad.
But you could try and say that,
You
yeah.
could try that.
I'm not trying to like
You could
defraud
almost-
the election.
You could
right?
almost like say that for like a primary. Like people who vote in primaries are not a lot,
I didn't
and they're
even know
mostly
that.
the passionate people, which that's kind of why we're getting more divided. If you think about it, never mind, I'm not gonna.
It's election day.
Like if the people who, like in Texas, a lot of the times, the people who run for a primary for like Republicans, whoever gets that seat is probably gonna win because they're Republican in Texas. Like So the primaries are almost like the biggest vote,
In-
not the actual election.
in
In like your little
Louisiana.
local elections, you know. Anyways, uh,
But actually, in Louisiana, they, like, if you win over half of the majority, or like, if you get the majority with like over half, in the primaries, then like you automatically win.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, that's for like your little local
Yeah.
offices and like your state representatives, not necessarily for like senators or presidents or anything. All right, let's see another one. Like convenience sample would be like I just walk outside and take the first 20 people and sample them. Response bias would be like I'm asking something where someone's gonna elicit like a false answer, like how many hours did you study for my test last night? And y'all are like, yeah, like all the
12.
hours in the world. Like we have a test today? What? We don't have a test today. But little things like that. Okay, let's go through this. So we've got this high school has decided to offer an SAT prep class again this year. It will be offered in 2 different formats, online and in the classroom. The counselors want to know which teaching method will yield higher SAT scores, so they want to set up an experiment. 50 students signed up to take some form of the SAT prep class, 20 seniors, 20 juniors. All right. Outline, just a regular, completely randomized design to compare the 2 treatments. So just this is our basic, like set up our experiment. So we start, oh no. All right, I'm gonna, go old school here with the pen. Is that gonna work? No. I don't wanna restart my computer. Please don't make me do it. Please don't
Back
make
in their
me do it.
videos.
Like Mr. Harlan was like.
Dang it. Come on. No. Please. I'm begging you.
You do it.
I think your board is broken.
Well, no, it's because I took my computer home and I have to restart it. You see how it's blinking over there? So, dang it.
No, I think we can't do work. Oh, dang it.
Well, no, we can do work. I just don't want to have to restart it, but I think I'm going to.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Dang it.
It's okay.
Well, oh well.
That's okay. We can skip it.
It's just unfortunate.